Hey everyone, welcome back to the Thoughts Distilled talk show from homebar.io. I'm Kevin.
I'm Justin.
And Justin, today we're talking about a very well-known bottle. Its reputation precedes it.
Yes.
Blanton's.
I've never heard of it. This bottle is a legend, a living legend. It's already, I mean, I know when I got into it, bourbon a few years back, it's like you Google, what's the best bourbon to buy? Tater to the max.
Yeah.
That was me. I still am.
Yep.
What's the bottle that pops up? Blanton's. I mean, how could it not? Look at the bottle. And this one's got some dust.
Yep. It's
a little bit of hair, dog hair.
highly unique.
Yes.
Highly unique bottle.
I mean, we all know you collect the tops. They spell out a letter of the name. Blanton's. They're all different. I mean, everything about this is a collector's dream. It's a tater's dream.
It really is, because it's kind of the full package, because it has a really great design, like we said, for the bottle. The juice inside is pretty good, just from what we know. Obviously, we've opened this. We've tasted Blantons before. We've had our share of Blantons. You can see there's Blantons behind us.
Yes.
So we know a bit about it already. But yeah, I mean, it comes from Buffalo Trace, as we know, and so then you already know off the top of your head that it's just going to be probably a pretty good product, because we know Buffalo Trace makes great stuff. But let's go a little bit more into that, Justin, because I don't want to focus too much on the tater aspect. Let's talk about what it brings to the table. And start there.
So this is, obviously, again, most of you are going to know this. This is basic stuff. It's mash bill number 2. They don't divulge what the percentages are of the grains. But, allegedly these are, Blanton's is 6 to 8 years old. Again, it's not age stated, but they say it's 6 to 8 years.
Right.
It's always 93 proof, which personally I think, until recently the U.S. market was gypped that we only got this.
Right.
When there's gold, there's so many others that the other markets get. But, obviously this one became a legend because Albert B. Blanton, who was the distiller back in the day, would take famous people, senators, celebrities to his honey barrels and, would show them the special single barrels or whatever. They weren't really called that back then. The special barrels and whiskey to special people. Blanton's was Elmer T. Lee, another famous name. He trained him. And in the 80s, 84 I think to be exact, this is what Elmer T. came up with to honor Blanton. 84 I think he decided to release the first single barrel. And obviously since then, it's, you know what the story is. It's become an iconic bottle. I mean, look at it. It's beautiful.
Again, yeah,
it's
exactly.
cool. It's got the horse.
Package,
it's got
right?
the cool shape. There's no other bottle like it. Actually, there's some sort of bottle out there that looks like it's not bourbon though. But anyway,
it's like an imitator.
Yes.
There's an imitator. Never
but it's cool.
replicated,
It's
only
unique.
imitated.
You collect them to collect the names. I mean, even the gold has its own letters that you got to collect, so straight from the barrel.
Yep.
So there's nothing. I mean, it's perfect marketing. And the bourbon inside's not bad, but is it really worth what you see? So it's $60 minimum price usually in our state, anyways. I see it a lot, 200 plus.
Yeah, we'll talk about what makes sense for a range. We'll get into all of that. But yeah, what we want to do is we want to talk about, again, is the juice worth it, right? Is what is in the bottle worth the price? And we'll talk about it again at $60, and we'll talk about it at different ranges and see what we think makes sense. So let's. So
this particular one we just grabbed. This one was dumped on 6/14 of 2019. So it's been in here for a little bit.
It's been a minute. Yeah, that one's been sitting. Yep.
So, how is time treated this one? This wasn't opened in 2019, I don't believe. But it's been a little bit.
Yeah. It's been a minute. It's had a chance to breathe, let's just put it that way.
It's so sweet.
Yeah, I can tell you right off the bat, I get some of those typical, what I would consider typical Blanton's notes. I get honey.
Honey for sure.
I get caramel in there. It's like a lighter caramel. I mean, it smells good. It's
really good. It's sweet.
Yeah, it's sweet. And it's kind of tough for us because, of course, you always see people kind of dogging Blanton's a little bit because of the amount of hype that it does get. But really, when it comes down to it, and you've got a glass in front of you, it's going to deliver.
It's really
going to deliver. We'd love to say that
it's oaky. I get a little oak in there too. Slight oak.
Definitely. There's some oak in there.
It's really
there's a touch of vanilla, but it's more caramel.
It's not complex, but it's
honey sweetness.
There's no way you can't you wouldn't enjoy this.
Right.
What makes it unenjoyable is not being able to find it. Well, it also makes it more enjoyable when you do find one.
I know.
And then what you see it go for.
It's all part of the game, right? So, all right, let's get into it.
Yep.
Let's see what we get from it.
I mean, it's almost identical. It's pretty. I mean, honestly, like that oak is throughout the whole thing in the background.
Yeah.
But it's very sweet. It's
real easy. I guess I would say smooth. I know that that's a term that people like to use a lot. I don't love it, but
not the nerds. The nerds don't like to say smooth.
Right.
Because but it is smooth.
Yeah, it is.
It is
honestly,
smooth.
it's smooth, and I feel like there's different interpretations of what smooth means. To me, it just means it's an easy thing to drink. It goes down real quick.
Not a lot of burn.
Not a lot of burn. The nice thing about this one, again, I feel like I'm only seeing good things about it. For those who don't have a bottle and are just like really hankering to get one, there's a decent balance of sweet and spice. Like I got a little bit of spice. It's not a ton of spice. You're not going to get a ton.
I've had some that are a little more spicier than others.
Yeah.
Because this is a single barrel, so
but I like to think of it as kind of, in my opinion, like a little bit more of a quintessential bourbon, because bourbon's supposed to be sweet. That's kind of what it's all about. It's going to have those vanilla, caramel, and this one has honey notes, which just adds to the sweetness, and just a good amount of spice. Yeah, and enough to make it, to give it that balance. And it does have that balance, really. It's just a really good bourbon.
I mean, I honestly think, so price-wise, $60 is a fair price for this.
I agree.
It really is.
I agree.
It's very good. It's very, very good. Again, you get the cool bottle to put on your shelf at your bar, or what? Like everything about it is cool.
Yeah. I'm gonna try and see if I can pick out anything particular that someone might not like. I think everything, like I said, if it's kind of like a quintessential bourbon to me. Kind of reminds me of, like, obviously it would make sense, Elmer T. Lee.
Very similar, obviously.
Very similar. But I guess I would say if you're someone who likes high proof and you like really deep notes of chocolate and tobacco and all those other types of things, you're probably not going to get coffee or anything like that.
That's the downfall to this, is it's not very complex.
Yeah, it doesn't have a lot of...
But that's not a downfall at the same time.
Not a lot of complexity, but that's fine, because you're still getting a really great product. $60, like Justin said, totally worth it for $60. Let's start talking about when that starts to get ratcheted up, though.
So I think you kind of see these max out for around $200, and people do pay this. And some people are really desperate to get a bottle, so hey, you do you. If that's what you really want, and sometimes it's really hard to find. And it was really hard for me to find my first bottle, and it's just kind of weird. It's almost like the more comfortable you get, the more relationships you establish. They're easy to find. It's this is not a brag. Now it's like I turn more down than I buy. And a lot of it is because of the price. If I ever find this at $60, I'm going to buy it all day. Right. Honestly, for me, I think a reasonable price, $60 to $80. I think I might go a little higher if it's a barrel pick. I have, like many of you out there, have helped your local shop pick a barrel, and that's a little more sentimental value. You get your hand in it. I might pay a little bit more, maybe $90, maybe.
That's exactly.
I'm not paying $100 or over on this.
Yep.
It's just not worth it.
That's exactly where my head's at.
Personally.
Nail on the head. We hadn't talked about this beforehand or anything. 60 to 80 is exactly what I would say. If it comes into your area, it's going to be very tempting to spend a lot of money on it. But if we're being totally honest of the juice that's in there, in the bottle, $80 I would say at the tops. 60 if you can get it, great. Totally worth it. But then a single barrel expression, like Justin just mentioned, I've done 90 on those, and I have not been disappointed. And to be honest with you, I've heard some people say things like, "Oh, well, it's a single barrel already. What's the point of paying more for a single barrel pick?" Well, the difference is that they get their opportunity to try 3 or more different versions of a single barrel and pick their favorite out of this. This, we're kind of just given what we're served up. We don't get it. If it's a shelf version, that's what, that's your choice. I mean, you
get a cool extra sticker on it. See it.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's unique. It's not something that gets put in circulation. You got to go to that shop to get it. That's how single barrels work. I think most people know that.
Right. Well, yeah, exactly. So, so there is merit, in our opinion, to getting Blanton's single barrel pick, because it should be different. And we've had some incredible single barrel picks that are much better than the shelf version of the single barrels. So consider, as good as we have talked about this one, how good this one is, even better, right? They can be even better than that.
For sure. All right, we covered that. So I think it's a buy in that price range that we talked about, the 60 to 80.
Yep, absolutely.
What do you rate this? What would you give it?
Yeah, so, I mean...
And keep in mind, these are single barrels. So this particular one, they're all
could be
pretty
different.
similar. Same
Yes.
mash bill, the same age usually, same warehouse, but barrels range.
Right. So yeah, I think this one kind of is a little bit above just your typical everyday run-of-the-mill bourbon. I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to give it just an 8 even, so a solid 8.0.
Yeah, I'd say that's a comfortable range for this. And for the most part, I haven't really had a Blanton's that I really didn't like. There's been some that are a little more spicy and some that are a little more dull. It's going to fluctuate. I'd say that it's a safe bet between that, like, at the lowest, like a 7.7 to an 8. You know, just depending on which bottle you get.
Right. Yeah.
Barrel
I've gotten.
you get,
I mean, we should mention that I've gotten a little bit hotter, which is funny because it's 93 proof. But that just kind of shows that it had a little bit more of that alcohol kind of note to it, and it really wasn't hidden. I've had one that wasn't very well balanced. This one is really good. But for the most part, what I have observed, like we said, we've got bottles in the back, and I've got a bunch more open actually. But those ones have been pretty well balanced, and they're great, and they're kind of like this one. So for the most part, you're going to get a good product.
Exactly. That's just our recommendation. Again, if it's something you have to have, you know, do what you got to do. But keep in mind, you may be the reason why bourbon is so freaking expensive nowadays. Because if it's priced at $200 and someone's buying it at $200, as a business owner, why wouldn't you sell
They're
it?
They're going to sell it for $200.
You're leaving money at the table. It sucks. You know, call it what you want. It's hard to leave money on the table if someone's going to buy it.
Right.
So.
All right. Well, thanks so much for joining us, guys. That was Blanton's Bourbon, and cheers. We'll be talking to you soon.
Cheers. See you next time.